Okay, alright. What's up, guys? What's up, my guys? It's the Khaiza, and we are back for another Khaiza Dojo LEPISODE, right? The last one was pretty good. Like, I'll give it that. It's been like a long hiatus, like, type of Khaiza Dojo. Now we're not going to be talking about toxicity, right? Pretty much, everybody learns their lesson about, just play for fun, right? If you are angry, just take a deep breath, walk away, do some recreational activities or some shit, Today, we are going to be talking about fighting game patches, right? I'll be dubbing it the nerfs, the buffs, and the responses, right? Today we're going to be talking about fighting game patches in fighting games, and this is mostly based on the King of Fighters 15 patch, patch 1.32 or 1.33 if we ever want to call it. And a lot of characters got really much nice buffs in the game, right? A lot of characters like Yashiro, K-Dash, like to name a few. And only those few because, those are the characters that I play with, right? Definitely got some, like, sauce, like, slowly from Yashiro, like, beta in KOF 15 to, like, patch 1.33 post Team Southtown DLC update. Yashiro's kind of like getting back into like his saucy form back in the beta, right? And of course, K-Dash got some like good tools and good utility, right? So I'm very much happy about that. But as I was looking through the patch notes, we're going to be talking about fighting game patches because I feel like that's another important fighting game piece, like discussion, that normally doesn't get like touched upon, or like a deep like sip like your cup of coffee type of discussion. I don't have coffee, I don't have tea, right? But if I were to imagine tea, right, I would drink it and I'll be like, that's a good discussion. Go on, keep more, let me add some sugar. Fighting game patches have been more prevalent around like the 2010s, the late 2010s and the early 2020s, right? Or the early 2020s. They've become much more prevalent than what we know of fighting game patches back then. Well, even then, like back then, fighting games like Street Fighter or Marvel or those shits like that, they didn't really get any like patches. They don't necessarily have any like balance updates or like tweaks to characters to make the game, not put out as many additions as it can. I'm looking at you, Street Fighter, with many Street Fighter 2s and Street Fighter 3s and Street Fighter 4s, right? Old games don't really have the balance patches, but now we kind of sort of see fighting games go through the balance patch mode, right? And honestly, that's kind of like a good thing, right? I honestly want to say that is a good thing because, fighting games are never really like static, right? There's always like changes with them, right? Albeit initially like in the first month, right? When players start picking up like certain characters that are have like so many tools that make them really good in the game, then of course players are really gonna like, play them, right? But, patches definitely, hurt, right? Let's go over like the good and bad of like patches. There's of course, the nerfs, which a lot of people like resonate towards, for as like a sounding word for fighting games, oh, this character got nerfed, I'm not gonna play him anymore. This character is super busted, but we're just gonna go with nerf because, it's all about fighting game patches. So nerf is essentially a debuff, right? A status, well, not a status ailment, but a debuff of a character. So it would only apply for a character that is really good at the beginning stages of a fighting game, like the first month or like the first 2 months. And then devs saw that like a lot of players have been using, so-and-so character and have been taking this so-and-so character into tournaments and have been whooping ass with everybody. So the devs are immediately responsive and like, okay, let's patch this character and let's nerf him to the ground, right? And of course, you know, the famous nerf of all time, at least like in this day and age, is Bayonetta, right? Bayonetta is a character that just dominated the Smash 4 playing field, right? She is a character that, you know, I personally liked, you know, because I'm a Bayonetta stan all the way through, right? I played Bayonetta 1 and 2. I haven't watched the anime movie, but, you know, regardless. Bayonetta is a strong, overpowered, OP character in Smash 4, and she gets away with so much shit, right? She can 0 to death you from, like, out of nowhere, from just the platform to all the way up to the, sky limit, or what's that word that smashers like call? Is it like the boundary or something like that? Yeah, the death ceiling. Yes, that's it, the death ceiling. She would take you from the platform to the death ceiling in like the greatest of ease, and then immediately after 1 month of Bayonetta's initial release in Smash 4, she got nerfed, right? Her dive kicks didn't do that much, she didn't like lift off characters that much, and you know, it was a sad time for Bayonetta players, but it was also a good time for, you know, Smash players, right? Because, you know, Bayonetta was that toxic-inducing character. She is that game-breaking character that just literally didn't play Smash Brothers. She played her own game. And it was super toxic because, you know, everybody remembers that one Evo of, I think it was like Salem versus Zero? Or was it Salem versus, fuck, I forgot that other Smash player's name. It was that one Evo where Smash 4 was playable at that time. And everybody just, like, tuned off, like, viewership went down for the Smash 4 Evo finals because it was a Bayonetta mirror match. And by the time Evo came around, and this was, like, after Bayonetta's release, nobody liked Smash Brothers 4. Generally nobody likes Smash Brothers 4 because, you know, gameplay mechanics. But nobody liked Bayonetta because of the crazy shit that she can get away with, right? And of course, you know, I agree. After a year of me being like a stubborn, like spiteful Bayonetta stan amidst all like the Nintendo like wackadoodles that are in there, of course, that makes sense, right? You don't want to have a character that is dangerously busted to the point that, like, a game is not playable anymore, right? You want players to play a fighting game for longer periods of time. You don't want to stick with an old version of a game and play that a la pre-patch Bayonetta and just expect that you're gonna have a fun time. And you're, of course, gonna find, you know, Bayonetta players everywhere. Now Bayonetta is, like, kind of back to form with Smash Ultimate. Now she's like okay, but there's still like some scarred, like vivid PTSD memories of Bayonetta just fucking everywhere, right? She is like that one character that just dominates all. That's a famous example of a nerf, right? There are, of course, also other famous examples of nerfs, right? Leroy in Tekken 7, right? I think it was like around... Was it Season 2 or Season 3? Oh no, it was Season 2. Season 2 of Tekken, Leroy came out a month after, and everybody just played Leroy because he was a very old, like, Wing Chun, like, Kung Fu man, like, inspired by Donnie Yen and the Ip Man films, right? Of course, that's badass. But every Tekken player was playing Leroy, and there was also, in that incident, like with Bayonetta's situation, one Evo, like, it was an Evo Japan, and almost 6 out of the 8 contestants, out of the 8 competitors, not contestants, competitors, in that Evo were using Leroy as a main, like, default character, and they were just, like, taking names. And so, of course, Harada and Bandai Namco were like, alright, let's shut this shit down. Let's make Leroy, like, nerfed. Let's make Leroy, like, you know, not that nerfed to make him unplayable, but still make him, like, okay, you can't get away with stuff, right? And of course, right, fighting game nerfs are heavily, you know, a good thing. But because of those examples, fighting games do get patches for certain characters, right? And they tone them down Not to the point of like depravity, but to the point of, you know, you could still play these characters. It's not like, you know, okay, everybody is complaining about this character, alright, let's ban this character altogether. Of course, in tournaments, you can't do that in a finalized game, but you could definitely, like, you know, tone and, like, change some mechanics of this character here and there to make him more, you know, not that busted, but you can have broken, but never, like, busted, right? Fighting game nerfs definitely keep, like, the game alive, right? Comparatively speaking, you know, buffs are also pretty good, right? And buffs are usually like, you know, I'm beef, I'm bulky, right? I can do this now, I can do that now. And that only really applies, well, not only, that applies to characters that don't really have a lot of the tools that other characters, or at least like a few 10% or even like 20% of the roster of a fighting game can really do, right? And so buffs make them, like, you know, they're alive in the game. They're not like discarded or thrown away. Yes, of course they look cool, but, you know, only a few like 10% can really dominate in a fighting game, and it kind of sucks because you want to play this low tier like grappler or this low tier like character, right? And you can't play them because a lot of the players in that fighting game are going to play the top tier characters because they dish out damage pretty good. They have tools that make them really well, and of course they are easy accessible, right? On top of that, they are easily accessible. And of course, you know, low tier characters, they have to take like a little bit of nuance to them, right? You can't just like pick them up like 1, 2, 3. Of course, you are allowed to play your fighting game character your way, your fashion. Don't let anybody tell you what you can or cannot play, right? Whatever you choose as a character, that is like your persona per se, right? Characters, like, by themselves don't really have a lot of the tools that make them really good in a fighting game, right? A famous example of these are, like, you know, the Marvel games, right? Marvel 2 and Marvel 3 specifically, they have really much like a 10% cast that really just like dominates every single tournament that they are featured in for that game, right? Marvel 3, because I've watched and seen that game a little bit longer than Marvel 2, right? Like, I'm getting a little bit there to like Marvel 2 levels, but, you know, I'm more into Marvel 3. And Marvel 3 was just, you know, it was so beautiful, right? It was such a like you know, not to be rude, but like a meta sheep kind of like game, because most of the teams in Marvel 3 are like regulated down to like only a few characters. Most of them are from the Marvel side, a la Doctor Doom, Magneto, I think was Dormammu. Yeah, Dormammu. Dormammu was also pretty top tier. Phoenix was definitely a cancer-inducing character because, you know, for reasons, even after like the ultimate patch, the ultimate version of Marvel 3, she's still like a pretty solid character. They not fixed her up in any way, shape, or form. Who else was also really good in Marvel's 3? I'm trying to like remember from the top of my head. Yeah, there was, well, not Doctor Strange. No, not Doctor Strange. But I can tell you, like, the Capcom side especially, because a few of the Capcom side are really good. There's Virgil, there's Zero. Yeah, I think so. There's like Virgil and then there's Zero, right? The rest of the other cast don't really have a lot of tools that make them really good. Albeit, you know, they have tools that make... Oh no! Morgan. Fucking Morgan. Oh yeah, I forgot Morgan. Because of Chris G. Chris G found that tech for Morgan, and now everybody can do like Sulfus, Dark Illusions, Sulfus, or what was it? Astral Vision. Yeah, Astral Vision. Sulfus. It was just great. And it was just great. You know, it's not fun to watch against because it's just like zoning mess. You have fireballs in front of you and the back of you, and you just have to do your best to block. And it was a good, hype roaring, pleasing moment. that if you kill Morrigan, you're pretty much, you're a messiah, right? Oh, and also Dante, right? Dante's also pretty good, and he's accessible as well. So like, there are like 4 Capcom Titans and 4 Marvel Titans in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And of course, they have tools that make them really good. And that's where like a lot of the other cast of the Marvel and Capcom sides of Marvel vs. Capcom don't really get a lot to shine, right? Of course, you see like other characters, like other players that play characters like Deadpool, i.e. Dual Kevin, that is really good with that team, with Deadpool, Dante, and Hawkeye, and of course there's Justin Wong, right? Of course, Justin Wong is like fighting game prodigy, but Iron Fist per se can like counter or negate any of the Astral Vision Morgan shits? No, he cannot, right? He's a grounded base character. He is the Little Mac of the game. You can only do so much with Iron Fist, right? And that's where I would say that like fighting game patches are essential to the fighting game FGC world, right? Because like I said, right, you don't want to have a busted character roaming around the streets of a fighting game and just like taking names, and there's no unanswered responses or feedback to said character, and he's just like taking names. Well, no, sorry, let me rephrase that. You don't want a small group of fighting game characters, right? And they are good, right? They are accessible, but don't let them be featured in every single tournament there is, right? As a spectator, you want to see different characters get like, a little bit of shine in them, right? You want to see like all of the cast, not all of the cast, most of the cast. Of course, everybody plays characters, as they like, right? And I mean is that everybody likes characters for their own reasons, right? I'm personally one of them, right? Like in KOF 14, I like some of the brooding edgelords. I like the cool guys, right? I like K-Dash, I like Rock, I like Terry, I like Geese, I like Yashiro. Sort of like a specific trend for me when it comes to like fighting games, and I like that because that's like what I like in a fighting game, in fighting game characters. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. I coincidentally play like top tier as fuck or even like S tier characters in most of the fighting games that I play in, but I generally don't do good in them, right? I just like them because I like them, right? I don't care what anybody says, I'll still play Virgil. I'm still a Virgil stan to this day, right? I love Devil May Cry. What the hell can you ask of me, right? Virgil's just accessible, and recently the mod community for Marvel vs. Capcom 3 made a DMC5 version of Virgil, and he's just even more insane than the basic bitch Virgil version of Marvel 3. It's crazy. But yeah, like fighting games give like a variety, like a spice of life for a fighting game, right? And it takes away any of like the additions, albeit excluding Capcom, right? Even though they already came out with like a definitive edition, I haven't like tried out the definitive edition. I should like want to at like one point, right? I want to see like how Akira is. I want to see how like some of the other characters I remember in Street Fighter V. I saw videos of Alex getting good. I saw videos of Alex increasingly good. I saw Kage being really good. Like, I want to see what the hell they added, but never found the time to do that. But I should. But Capcom is a known purveyor of, just releasing edition after edition of a fighting game. Albeit, like I said, Street Fighter 2. No, not albeit. Street Fighter 2 with its many editions. And it's fine, but damn, man. It's like Capcom was like releasing new game after new game after new game. It's like they didn't even hear of patch notes. and they still kind of do to this day with some of their fighting games. Street Fighter being a known example of that. There's Street Fighter 5, then there's Arcade Edition, Championship Edition, and Definitive Edition? Yeah, Definitive Edition. There's like 4 versions of Street Fighter. Same way as Street Fighter 4. There's Street Fighter 4, Super, and Ultra. Almost like 3 versions, right? Each with like a new balance like update here and there, right? But outside of that, most other like fighting games usually tend to like give balanced updates to a game. And you know, that's a good thing. You want to have nerfs and buffs in your fighting games so that you can give like characters that, you know, are overly busted, broken, and still playable. They're fun and still playable. They won't have the sort of abusive shit that they'll normally have in day 1, but they're still fun to play, right? It's not like the end of the world, right? Speaking of that, it's not the end of the world where a fighting game character gets nerfed to like the goddamn ground. You just have to work your brain about it a little bit. You can't go autopilot anymore. You have to do some maneuvering here and there in order to make this character good, right? In order to make this character good, you gotta do what the game is telling you and play the character as is. And of course, you know, that's a nerf, and of course you could take it with a grain of salt, right? You're not gonna get like base Android 16. You're not gonna get like, I mean, Bardock is still running around. You're not gonna get base Genjiro from Samurai Showdown. You're not gonna get any of these characters that you know and love from like day 1 version, because you know it's not gonna happen, right? You can't walk around with a busted character and expect your world to be so fine, right? Devs are listening. Devs are taking, you know, statistical feedback from matches all over the world, and they look at like what character is like dominating, and sad to say, your character is dominating the most, and he's gonna get nerfed, right? But again, right, you can still play him. You just have to work your brain around it, right? It's not the end of the world. It's not like you've lost your tourney-winning champion, right? You know, sometimes you just want to like mix it up. Sometimes the best way for a character to grow is going through the hurdles, going through the walls, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. And of course, right, fighting game patches are also good for like low tier characters, like characters that need to get that, you know, buffs in, right? You want to have a character that can like do a little bit okay with the modern meta of a fighting game, and just, you know, let's see, right? And just let's see. You can see that like definitely you can take characters with a low tier character, right? If anybody remembers fucking the one Tekken World Tour where it was a Panda versus a Devil Jin in a Tekken World Tour finals, right? And I think the Panda was in a loser's bracket, albeit obviously, right? But Panda won that Evo, and it was so astounding to the Tekken community that even Katsuhiro Harada himself walked off from backstage in front of stage and was just so astounded that like he said, "Panda? Really? Like, that's cool." And then he gave the announcement for like season 2 or some shit. But fighting game patches help out fighting games, right? It saves the money and hassle of like new additions, even though if you want to, of course, right? There's nothing wrong with like additions. With DLC content, you can make like a complete edition. You can make like a super edition, stuff like that. But fighting games need those balance patches so that the game can last longer, right? And of course, you know, right, to those other older games, you can still play them, right? Especially like in Marvel 2, because Marvel 2, if I remember correctly, has the ratio system. The ratio system is a tool that I think it was like Justin Wong made himself. I might have to like double check on that. But the ratio system is a tool that diversified the cast of a roster by picking low tier characters that are worth like 1 or 2 points, making the game a whole lot more enjoyable than just playing like the top tier bitches that old fighting games are really known for, right? Like I said, Marvel 2, really much known for fucking Magneto, Storm, Sentinel, those teams. And of course there's like Captain Commando and Cyclops, you know, but that's a big whopping roster that is Marvel 2, right? And there's so many like unused characters that do not see like the light and day of Marvel 2. But now with this like ratio mod, this ratio mod, now Marvel 2 gets like a new breath of life, because you normally don't see like Dalsum or fucking Servbot taking names in Marvel tournaments because of the ratio mod. I love seeing like new updates and new like improvements for a fighting game. Don't let a fighting game, you know, be static throughout time, right? Let a fighting game go through like the shifts and motions, the changes, right? You know, and you know what? I'm on board with fighting game patches in like the foreseeable future, right? Of course, we've been seeing it in like late 2010s and early 2020s, but I like to see more. I like to see more, right? If anything, Street Fighter V has definitely shown us that like patches can be really awesome and given characters a lot of like sauce to them. So if you can, if fighting game patches do more of these, if fighting games do more of these like patches, then yeah, I'm all up for it, right? I love seeing variety, right? That's all. Like that's what I really like about fighting game patches. It's like I like the variety that it gives, right? There's no like insane nerfs, insane buffs. There's no insane nerfs, insane buffs. There's always like, well, not middle ground, right? Middle ground is not something that you would normally don't want to have in a fighting game, right? Because of course everybody is balanced. No one is like essentially like broken. Because of course, right? There's also the other conversation about, you know, broken versus busted, right? And busted is like, you know, those like select characters that just like dominate the game. And broken, you know, sometimes people get that confused for like busted. And you know, broken is okay, just not busted, right? Busted is where, you know, the game gets extremely dangerous and you lose audience viewership and you lose like players like right off the bat, right? Bayonetta, like we said, Leroy, again like we said, those characters made players like drop the game because of how stupid they are. And you know, right, they were deservedly called as busted. They are nerfed and they are slowly like coming back into form, and now they're like considered broken. And to be honest, for me, in my honest opinion, I like more broken stuff a little bit more because, you know, right? Fighting games are essentially broken, right? There's a lot of like random horseshit that goes on with a fighting game that you cannot normally comprehend with the already attained knowledge that you have from a fighting game. Yeah, it's okay to have broken characters. It's okay to have like characters that just kind of, you know, do this shit, and it only gets like busted if it's dangerously close. You won't know what it is until you see like tournaments or like everybody, if you play like online for instance in a fighting game, is playing that 1 or 2 characters and you're not having a fun time because, you know, you're not seeing any other matchups, you're not seeing any other characters being widely used. And that sucks because you want to have a flavored cast of characters. You don't want to have a fighting game being dominated, run by like a few. run by a few, right? So I'm all with it. More fighting game updates, the better. More patches, the better. The more I'll take one photo from, what was it, my boy E-Skater. The more buffs, the better, right? You know, and of course, you know, that's a lot of like, you know, the reception, right? I like them equally. I like buffs and nerfs equally, right? I want to get good with my fighting games. I don't want to go like autopilot and just, you know, go and just like go in like that. I want to learn different characters. Hence why whenever there's like a new character that I like in Guilty Gear, I want to learn them and play online with them, right? I don't want to be settled with just like that one character. I want to learn as many characters as I possibly can with my knowledge, you know? And that's cool. That is super fucking cool, right? Speaking of which, we should be getting some news about like Guilty Gear sometime soon. It's almost close to like that 1 year anniversary of Strive's release. I think it came out on like June 10th or June 6th for early day release. So we could be seeing like maybe a 1 year anniversary like stream from Arc System Works, something like that. But anyway, I think that's it for like the fighting game patches, right? Albeit, you know, ad-lib, like usually how it is for the Khaiza Dojo. But I hope this was beneficial. I hope this was entertaining. I hope this was insightful for anybody who are getting into fighting games, and of course who are old to fighting games, and just hear like a different impression. I love, you know, hearing like both sides. But yeah, that's it for like the Khaiza, right? Thank you guys a ton for tuning into this Khaiza Dojo. I don't know what the next episode will be. But I'll let you know when via like Twitter, because I got like 1,001 ideas. They always like come up in my head. I just gotta find out which one is good for the right day, right? And today was like the right day because, you know, KOF 15 patch notes. Everybody's, you know, going into KOF with Team Southtown, and of course, you know, the different updates for certain characters, making characters hella saucy, hella good, hella tooled, right? So that's really cool. But anyway, I think that's it for today. That's it for today's Khaiza Dojo. I'ma see y'all later. Don't forget to leave a like, comment down below on what you think about fighting game patches, and you know, I want to see, like, the Khaiza wants to know about your opinions on the fighting game patches. And of course, subscribe to the channel. I post up fighting game content and other gaming related content that I like on the Khaiza. And don't forget to subscribe to my other channel, which is Khaiza_plays, where I do, you know, multiplayer and single player stuff of whatever I like, right? It's all about what I like, right, guys? It's all about what I like. So with that said, I'll see y'all later. Have a good day. Have a good night, day, or whatever, where you're from.